to ask you guys, um, do you think that the world changed during this COVID time, and do you think that it's now a good opportunity to Tunisian startups to go to uh, to access to your market, and to have a chance to be to find an issue with funds, with your network, because it's not easy. I think for everybody, when you talk about Google, it's the dream. When you talk about Apple, also it's very hard to access them. Do you think with this time of COVID, it's more accessible?
Walid, you go first.
I think definitely the opportunities are much more at this point because of the accelerated digitization that has been forced through the pandemic. I think particularly in the education space, there's so many things to be done there. So all of a sudden we have this new situation where we need to come up with solutions pretty quickly. So I think the short answer to your question is yes, definitely yes. Now, you need to be structured in a way, and you need to be to have the right tools to be able to address the markets and to be able to seize the opportunity. And I think that could be a different discussion. Are the startups in the MENA region well equipped to be able to tackle markets in the US and to grab grab shares? I think that will encompass things like supply chain, like legal aspects of it, like import and export, laws. All that is all that in place to support startups and give them the best chance to be able to tackle these markets? I'm not sure about that.
Someone want to answer?
I think there are a couple aspects I want to highlight. I was having a conversation with Walid a couple months ago, wondering how come Silicon Valley religion is shaky insofar that we went from saying like we need fancy offices and sushi in our cafeterias and comfy chairs and lots of perks, to basically saying, oh, never mind, I can work from home forever. I am a bit contrarian in the sense that I believe it's almost like a train that has been running full speed and then the engine shut down. So the train keeps rolling forward, but eventually people will really miss going back to work. However, I don't think we're going to go back to the old normal. We will have the new normal. And I think the new normal opens opportunities for Tunisia in at least two areas, right? One, in terms of software. I think people now realize that outsourcing can really work, right? I mean, even in the US, now we have people all over, right? We used to mandate for certain groups to be co-located, not anymore. So I think there is an opportunity for Tunisian software companies to emerge. But in my domain, in supply chain management, manufacturing, the US, for instance, President Biden has announced Made in America, right? Buy American. Why? Not only to re-energize the industry, but also because the US discovered that over-reliance on China and outside suppliers is a big problem. So I think for Tunisia, I would expect, or I would hope, that there will be a revival of the manufacturing sector to really focus on building locally for the next pandemic, for the next kind of disaster, but also to serve as a closer hub to Europe and the Middle East versus China, right? So I think these two areas, the software industry as well as the manufacturing industry, could benefit from the new normal post-COVID.
Monaem, I would like to know if do you think that Tunisia should take a direction, a strong direction with the sectors? I mean, your sectors is actually one of the most important. Scope even for USA. In USA, what do you think about Tunisia? did Tunisia have to choose a specific sectors to go deeper to these sectors and create a big value for the economy of Tunisia?
I think what we first I've learned the sentence, since a long time. Nothing beats a relevant product. So if it's relevant for the country, for the economy, then it's worth the investment. And I think in Tunisia we know what are our strength as a country. We have tourism, we have agriculture, we have tech right now is emerging in the country. So if we capitalize on all these strengths and try to create innovative products and innovative solutions, and then think beyond the boundaries, think how can we export all these technologies and all these products and services, and then tackle the entire world. Because post-COVID, we have learned that it's totally normal to work remote. It's totally normal to serve clients, from abroad, and then the entire private sector has normalized that. So now today I have clients in different countries where I don't have operation because simply I put one of the solutions on the cloud. We just need to ease a bit the financial and the banking sector for the Tunisian startups, so they can facilitate the transactions for them. It was very. I was very sad to learn that PayPal we joined Tunisia, a few months ago, but I don't know how it has been activated or no yet. But I know it hasn't been activated. So these are hurdles that, if there is no willingness from the government to unlock and to unleash the potential of entrepreneurs and give them all the tools so they can achieve with the simple means. These are simple means for the economy, for the central bank, to open up these obstacles that all the startups have been facing for a long time. Then we are not going to make it. Everyone has to contribute to this, not just entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are doing their best, but the government has to push as well with easiness of these banking sector and financial transactions, for them to start positioning their products and services and technologies to the world.
So what did you find, guys, in USA, in your environment, that could be done in Tunisia to give you, like you had the great environment to create, to think, to develop even your project, and also the environment of your work. What can we do in Tunisia to help also to create a nice environment for the entrepreneurs?
I think Monaem touched on the most critical thing. Financial flows in Tunisia remain unbelievably cumbersome, right? I mean, it kind of blows my mind when I hear that the top salaries in Tunisia are for bank CEOs, and I wonder why, right? What have they done over the last 30, 40 years to deserve so the fact that PayPal has had major issues to get into Tunisia. Tunisia tried to dictate its own basically rules to mighty PayPal. It's kind of crazy, right? So the fact that, for instance, let's say Monaem's cousin in Tunisia wants to start a company, the inflows are possible. You can wire transfer, but then Monaem's cousin cannot have an account overseas. It will feel like money laundering or some kind of like trafficking or something. Why, right? And then even if Monaem's cousin finds an investor in the US and that investor contributes to Monaem's cousin's company, the outflow of money is not as easy, right? And that's a big problem. How can somebody from overseas kind of invest in Tunisia knowing that it might be difficult to get their money back in dollars, right? So I think Tunisia has been lacking, I think, post-revolutionary Tunisia, right, in terms of major reforms, like free and the currency exchange of the dinar. There is a huge fear that the artificially tagged dinar, if it were to be to float freely, it might crash. Egypt went through it, other countries went through it. It's probably a temporary pain that might be needed to really fully integrate Tunisia in the world economy, and I think we're still missing that.
So instead of having the dinar crash, we're really concerned about like the dinar crashing, we're having like the future of our young people crashing. That's pretty much the choice we're making right now.
That's a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
everybody
terrible. The
crippled
situation
by
is terrible.
fear, right? Government officials, the banking lobby. I mean, it's really sad, right? Without free flow of currency, I think it's very, very difficult for Tunisia to reach its full potential.
Yeah,
Do
so
you
I guess
think,
the next
guys?
revolution needs to be a financial revolution in Tunisia. Tunisia is tackling the 21st century and like the entrepreneurship word and this technology word with like a financial system of like the 18th century, pretty much.
Do you think, guys, that Tunisia is not doing enough to connect the international Tunisian who are everywhere in the world, like you? Do you expect them to do something and to maybe make a step to you, um, or do you think that there is no need? Young entrepreneurs have to leave to make their own experience, and if they come back, it's good for the country. How we can create? Do you think there is a role from the states of Tunisia to be in touch with you?
I think every Tunisian that I've met here in Dubai or overseas, they've all have thought of driving an impact back to the country. I hear Mondher right now. He was mentioning that he would visit Tunisia twice a year, if not more, right? And that's not. I guess that's not just to visit the family back home, but then try to, because he wants to keep up with the country. He wants to keep up with whatever he has left there, and to see the revolution, and then to see how the country is evolving and how the economy and the society is evolving. I think talking about myself, I've always wanted to, and I've always tried, to get in touch with the officials. I've always tried to get in touch with the people that are really in the leadership there to show them how can I replicate the international experience and the success story that I'm building here in Dubai and overseas. To be honest, sometimes you get into a very disappointing journey, but then you try to be resilient as much as possible, because you understand that the system has a lot of challenges, and then you really have to be patient with the system in order to achieve something even a bit, to make a difference there. But there is no Tunisian that I've met abroad that does not think about giving back to the country.
See, Walid, Mondher.
Um, I mean, the situation is. I don't think it's to the government to really try to attract Tunisians abroad to come back. I think the government needs to be out of the way of that natural flow. Like, we have families in Tunisia, we are tied back to Tunisia naturally. So it's a natural flow, and it's a natural thing to happen for Tunisians to come back and like eventually try to show impact back home. But as per now, I think the government is more of a hurdle than of a part of the solution. If maybe through making things easier or getting out of the way and letting Tunisians abroad be able to invest back home, to establish connections and establish businesses back home. And again, it comes back to making it easy for the flows, for the inflow and for the outflow to happen naturally. As an anecdote, I was trying to send like as little as like $5,000 back to a family member, and that took 3 months to be solved because it was blocked in a bank somewhere. Even the banking institution here in the US weren't able to know where the money is. It goes in a black hole when it gets to Tunisia, and no one knows. They hold it in a secret account or something. And this is as simple as something as a transfer to a family member. Imagine if we're talking about like millions of dollars of like transactions. It's just non-thinkable right now. So how do you want Tunisians or anyone to try to send or invest or like do anything in the country if that's the case?
Yeah, I think, as Walid rightly stated, right, the government needs to get out of the way, cut the red tape, simplify procedures. I think the political instability in Tunisia, we're all very proud of the democratic Tunisia. Every single Tunisian has to be, rightly so, right, super proud of what Tunisia has achieved. However, I think the political instability is such that major reforms cannot be driven all the way to the promised land, right? So what happens then? Obviously, you have bottom-up kind of activity, right? A number of startups kind of making an impact, etc. But to really turn this into a major movement that will really make a dent into unemployment, I think if there is no governmental public sector kind of leadership, I think the big private sector, the banking sector, which is mostly private, right, has got to really, we need some leaders to emerge, right, from the current crop of new CEOs, etc., to basically say, we've been making money like crazy, but it's time to embrace the 21st century, like Walid. Let's leave the dark ages, embrace the new century, and do something. And as long as neither the public sector cutting red tapes or the private sector, the banking sector, trying to simplify things, I think the potential of Tunisia will remain very, very much contained into small success stories, but nothing, no major movement, right? No major kind of economic boost, right?
And based on my experience, if I may add some colors to what Mondher just mentioned, I mean, there's also internally a fear in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, not not the startup ecosystem, but the entrepreneurs in Tunisia and the business statu quo, right? There's a huge fear of opening up the market and disrupting their current situation, their comfortable zone. As an anecdote, when I was visiting Tunisia with some Google executives, trying to explore ideas and opportunities of investing in infrastructure, the feedback that I heard after leaving the country is that a couple of businessmen were saying that thank God there's the bank, the central bank that is protecting us from this invasion. Right? So instead of embracing this change of the Googles of the world, the Apples of the world, these guys were super proud that the central bank is there to block everything. So these guys won't come. So they will be still enjoying their share of whatever business they are doing in the country. So that mentality has to change too. I think it's one of the biggest blocker. So the kind of the current situation and the current government behavior is just an expression of how the local ecosystem is trying to protect itself. So maybe one of the things is educating our businessmen and trying to embrace this global market, this global economy, instead of trying to protect our little niche of our small market. And I think that's the biggest hurdle. People need to understand that they need to embrace this change.
Are we coming at the end of the panel? I would like from you, what was your big mistake that you did before, and if you go to the past, if you want to change it, what is it? What you would change about the mistake that you did in the past? And do you feel sometimes that you regret the way how you make your experience? And if there was another option, what it will be?
I would have lived it the same. I wouldn't have changed anything with all the silly mistakes that I've done, because I've learned so much, and from all these silly mistakes that I've done, I've learned so much, and I will keep doing the same mistakes. Not the same mistakes, actually, other types of mistakes, but that's how we grow. I think when I started, one of the silly mistakes that I've done, that I jumped into the market without a very solid product. I underestimated the competition. I didn't really think of setting up a proper vision for my business. I just jumped, and I wanted to cruise there and see what happens. And I think I've done the right thing, because that's what have helped me to build thick skin. After all these issues that I've faced today, I'm proud that I'm much more resilient. I'm much more creative. I'm much more attentive. I'm much more solid in my approach. I'm much more structured, into my approach to approach the market and to approach competition and to approach the clients. I've learned so much from all these mistakes, and I always say that, and all my friends, they know me for this expression. Entrepreneurship is like a pregnant woman in ongoing labor. You will be always into a catch-22. And then you'll be always, faced with new obstacles, and then that's how we grow, and that's how we can build a solid personality that can help you to overcome much bigger issues. It's super exciting. Trust me, it's very, very, very exciting.
See, Walid?
Yeah, I agree. I think life is mostly about luck, right? I think we're all grateful. Everybody has to be grateful for where they are, right? Life is truly, I mean, I think most of what happens in life, a great deal of it is luck, but also a good portion of it is hard work. And then it depends, right? The encounters you make, the people you get to know, the opportunities that come your way, sometimes in unexpected areas at unexpected times, right? So the only regret probably I have is I probably should have tried to do something more permanent in Tunisia, or something, started something in Tunisia, or tried to push harder. I think pre-revolution, I didn't want to get involved with anything related to the nepotism that was prevalent back then. Post-revolution, we tried, Walid, myself, other people here. There are a number of things and associations, etc. We try to help, but it's always a buzzing sound in the back of my head, right? What more could we have done? But otherwise, I think, as Monaem said, embrace the mistakes, right? When I interview people, and I always ask two things: tell me about a failure and a success, right? You need to embrace failures. You need to really, if somebody says, I've never had any failures in life, I never hire that person, right? So you need to really embrace the adventure, right? And I think that's the key thing, that especially Tunisians abroad, right, trying to adapt to new environments, new language, etc., have had to live through. And that's what makes, as Monaem said, our skin kind of thicker and our personality stronger.
I guess in my case, it's the only regret I have is, falls under the category of like believing in yourself a little bit more, and probably to the extreme. So I remember when I had my baccalaureate, like everybody in the family wanted me to go to become a doctor, like do medicine, And my dream at that time was to be able to do theoretical physics. So I kind of like I had to settle in the middle, where I went to engineering studies, because engineering studies were still something like for your family, you're still going to get a job. You're going to become an engineer, But at that point, like theoretical physics was in Le Campus. There's a Faculté de Sciences. And like it was considered, and I think it's still considered as being a total failure if you end up there. I think looking back now, I'm happy with the result, but I still have a bad taste in my mouth in terms of like, not like fully embracing my dreams and really kind of like facing that society pressure that considers something as a failure, but it was still my dream. I should have chased that more thoroughly. That's kind of like the only thing that the only advice I give everyone: just don't listen to what people tell you and what people try to make of your life. Just make your own life.
Walid, your AI clone might become a medical doctor. Walid Watson.
Could you please share your favorite quotes or favorite citation, or maybe your the a word, a sentence that make you always, going and believing in your dream?
I have many favorite quotes, but I'll mention one actually in Arabic that I always use with my American friends and colleagues. لا تؤجل عمل اليوم إلى الغد. I think if there was one simple rule that we could use, is I think it's unbelievably simple, unbelievably powerful. Because if you have a capacity for something to do today, if you waste that capacity, you can never recover, right? So whatever you can do today, do it today, because wasted time is unrecoverable, right? So.
Thank you.
I'm like Mondher. I have so many quotes, but then I always remember when I was child, my dad used to tell me one Tunisian quote with which I grew up, even telling people around it. In Tunisia, we say "Ili sammek ghnek." And my dad has always told me that never brag about yourself. Always let people talk about you, because the kind of trust that you build in the community, the kind of trust that you build in your entourage and your ecosystem, will tell people about the success that you have achieved, or the quality of added value that you're bringing to the setting, to the community around you. So I've always loved this quote, and I always
See, Walid?
In my case, it's very easy. I think it's a quote that I used also in my thesis. I think it tells everything about like the Tunisian mindset. It's a quote that is I think that is attributed to Hannibal. I'm not sure if it's the case or not, but like it captured the spirit. So we will we will either find a way or make one. Right? So I think it captures very well the situation in Tunisia right now. There's either a way, or like we're going to have to invent one, but like we're going to have to survive and make it happen. That's I really love that quote, and it's something that drives me in my daily challenges.
Great. So I think we lost Monaem, but he will be back in a few seconds. I hope so. So for me, it was a great pleasure to listening you, and to Monaem is there. So Monaem, you can finish your. I think you were.
Should I repeat it?
Yes, sorry.
No, I think we got most of it, Monaem, right? I think your feed froze very much
for the last piece.
Yeah.
So yes, as I mentioned, that "Ili sammek ghnek" was it's still my favorite quote, because that's what I've learned. My dad tells me always, never brag about yourself. Let people talk about you when they see the added value that you bring to their lives and to the community around you.
So guys, it was a great pleasure to be part of this panel with you, and hope to see you soon in Tunisia after this pandemic crisis, and wish you all the best. So thank you for the audience, for the participants who were there with us. Anyway, if you have any question, anything that you want to share with our speakers, let's use the platform Riyeda. You can also take the time to send them a message and exchange. They will be, I'm sure, even they have a strong agenda, they will find a way to answer to your question. Thank you very much, guys. Hope, wish you a beautiful time in your country where you are living now, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you
very much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a great pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.